Hello mate and welcome back to Let's Code Season 6. In this episode we're just going to very quickly whiz through the code that we need to pass data from our map file into our matrix to create rooms. And I've actually written the code already here, and it is literally just this tiny little chunk of code here. Give it a zoom in on that and you can see it's actually really simple. I'm going to talk you through each thing. I've annotated the code as well so that we know what's happening, but all we're doing is we're taking the matrix that we created in the previous episode, which, if you remember, just literally populates each cell within our matrix with the data from our map file. All we're doing is we're looping through every row in the matrix, and then for every row in the matrix we're looping through each cell within that row. And then all we're doing is we're checking, is that item 0? If it is 0, and notice that because we've coded it using UTF-8, we have to make sure that we put our 0 in speech marks there because it's reading it as a string, not as an integer value. If it is 0, we're going to replace it with none. None is just literally what it says on the tin. It's nothing. It's an empty value. It's just a null value. Okay, it's Python's way of saying null. If it's not 0, then what we're going to do is we're going to take the data within that cell and we're going to split it, and we're going to use a colon as our separator. We can't use space because one of our values in our room class is the name, and our name might have a space in it. So if we used space as our separator, that would throw all kinds of errors and it would cause nothing but problems. So we're going to use colon as our separator. Then we're going to take out 3 pieces of data. Now if we come back to our game room class, you can see that we need name, exits and room type as our 3 values. Name is going to be a string. Room type is probably going to be a string as well. Exits, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a binary counting system, not as complicated as it sounds, don't panic, to determine which entries and exits the room has. So we come back to our map class here. So all we're doing is we're splitting that into the 3 pieces of data that are required, and then in our matrix we're replacing that data with a room object, an instance of the room class, and we're passing in the 3 pieces of data that we got out of our temp data split into that, and that's creating a new room. And then all we're doing is we're taking our temporary matrix and we're saving it into the self._matrix property of our instance of the map class. Okay, so we're going to make sure we save that, and we're going to have a look at our map data and what we actually need. So in order for us to create a room in our map file, what we need to input into our data is we need to put in a name. So for example, Dave's room is going to be 1. Then we're going to put a colon. Now our rooms, rather than having north, south, east and west, which we can have further down the line when we turn the number that we're going to provide into a value, but what we're actually going to do is we're going to label our doors 1, 2, 4 and 8. So for example, if I have a 1, a 2, a 4 and an 8 there, okay, so that's a 9. So those are the values of our doors, okay? So if this is the north door, this is the east door, the south door and the west door. If I have a north and south door, I'll add 1 and 4, so my number to put in this space will be 5. If I have a north and west door, it will be 1 plus 8, which means my number is 9. So there are, with 4 doors, there are, funnily enough, a total of 16 potential combinations, and if you add all these up together, you get 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8 is actually equal to 15, and then we include 0 as another one, and there you go. There is our total of 16 combinations. So for example, Dave's room might have a 7, which means it's north, east and south rooms but no west room. So that's going to be the number that we're going to put into that value. And then the room type, we'll just stick with the tried and tested sausage. Okay, so this is the value that we're going to put into our map file. As you can see here, I've actually got Dave's room with 3 and sausage in cell 2, 2. So we can just get rid of that extra bump that I've added there. Make sure we save the file, and then that should be good to go. So in order for us to test our code, what we have to type in is this. We're going to type in the game map matrix cell 2x2.getSize just to check. But what I'm actually going to do first is I'm actually going to print the matrix There we go, print out matrix, and if we type that, as you can see, we've got our matrix that's there, but now instead of none in cell 2-2, we've actually got a room object created. So now if we do this again, I can print that out, and there you go. That's exactly the contents of that cell. And if I type in the size of this map is, well, the size of the room stored in 2,2 is 20 by 15, which if we go to our room class, you can see is actually, bear with me while I zoom in for you. You can see 20 by 15 is the size that we set as our default room size. Now, we could, if we wanted to, have rooms of different sizes, because we've got a size property here, but there's nothing in our room class that says that it can't be a different size. So if we wanted to, in our map file, we could also dictate the size we want our room to be, and we can provide that with 2 integer values. But we'll think about that a bit further on in the process of creating this. All I wanted to do in this episode was get that map parsing script up and running, which it now is. So we can now put rooms into our map file and it will create a nice map for us, which is awesome. So thanks very much for watching that, guys. I know it's very short and sweet, but it got a pretty big chunk of our game done. So I look forward to seeing you next one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But until then, you take damn good care of yourselves, all right? Bye-bye.